The withdrawal from Afghanistan, of course, involved dissent. There were many people who said we should have left thousands of troops there. Of course, once Trump told the American people we were leaving, the American people would not stand for that. There has never been a pristine, casualty-free withdrawal in that situation, especially when you have hundreds of thousands of people who are desperate to flee their country. You saw that in our withdrawal from Vietnam, and we saw that with the partition of India, where hundreds of thousands of people moved or millions of people moved and hundreds of thousands died. As to Iran, the chairman is correct that Iran is very, very close to a nuclear weapon. And I'll simply point out that the prior president pulled out of the JCPOA without a plan to do anything to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon. And so the Saudis seem to have taken action on the assumption that Iran was about to become a nuclear power. Mr. Secretary, I want to implore you on an issue that may not otherwise come up. You're focused on the great issues of war and peace, the things historians will write about, and that competes for your time with the basic operations of the State Department, passports and visas. The passport system is broken and has been since the beginning of COVID. Visas, if we did a better job on visas, that would be the most important thing we could do with our public diplomacy program and winning hearts and minds. And when it comes to business, it's impossible to get people to invest in America if it's going to take them 6 months to do a business deal. And I would hope that business visas would proceed at the speed of private sector business. So I want to implore you on that, move to a question. Last September, Nord Stream pipelines were blown up. You're now in a formal setting. Can you assure the world that no agency of the U.S. government blew up those pipelines or facilitated that action?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Putin has told us he wants to restore the Soviet Union. There are those who argue that we should have done nothing to help Ukraine, that what goes on Ukraine stays in Ukraine, and that we don't have an interest there. Obviously, if we had announced we were doing nothing, Europe would have done nothing, and Putin might well have been in Kyiv in a week or two. If that had happened, I think President Xi would be emboldened. But let's focus on Russia. If Russia had been able to take over the Ukraine in a matter of weeks, would that have satiated Putin or encouraged him to go after Moldova, the Baltics, and Poland?
In my judgment, the latter.
Thank you. Turning to Ethiopia, the State Department released a summary determination indicating that while all parties were guilty of war crimes, the Ethiopian military, the Eritrean military, and the Amhara forces committed crimes against humanity, and that the Amhara forces committed ethnic cleansing. During testimony last year, your Assistant Secretary Molly Fee committed that the United States will not support international loans or the restoration of AGOA to Ethiopia until the Ethiopian government fulfills its obligations under the peace agreement, including unrestricted humanitarian aid, protection for civilians, human rights monitoring, and the restoration of services, including the Internet. Do you reaffirm that commitment?
I do, and indeed, that's actually what we're seeing happening. I just came back from Ethiopia. Happy to address that in greater detail, but yes, the basic,
thank you. And
the basic point, yes.
The head of Save the Children has just returned from there and reports that things are getting better. Can you think of anything that would help President Xi expand his power more than if the United States were to cut our diplomatic efforts by 22%?
There may be some other things, but that would certainly be on a top 5 list.
And finally, what can we do to help the Rohingya, who are so desperate they fled to Bangladesh? Yeah. And some remain, of course, in Myanmar, Burma.
As you know, I made a genocide determination when it comes to the Rohingya last year. We are doing everything we possibly can to continue to get humanitarian assistance into Burma despite the situation there, including to help Rohingya. Of course, many Rohingya are refugees in other countries. We work to support them there. We work to make sure that countries don't engage in refoulement. That would send
Thank
them
you.
back.
And finally, I just want to implore you to try to open up the corridor to Artsakh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.